Here's what nobody wants to admit. We are not all equal in abilities, talents, or potential. Some people are naturally smarter, more creative, or more driven than others. But here's what's even more controversial. It doesn't matter. The biggest lie society tells you is that you need to be equal to everyone else to be valuable. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room to be worthy of success. You don't need to be the most talented to deserve respect. You don't need to be perfect to be valuable. Your worth has nothing to do with how you compare to others and everything to do with the unique combination of gifts that only you possess. Stop trying to be equal to everyone else and start being exceptional as yourself. Monday morning, 97% of people look in the mirror and have a conversation with someone they don't respect. They see a person who's not smart enough, not talented enough, not worthy enough. They see someone who should be grateful for whatever scraps life throws their way. This is the greatest tragedy of human potential. And today, we're going to change that story forever. Let me tell you about Thomas. 5 years ago, Thomas pushed a mop cart through the halls of a corporate building downtown. Every executive walked past him like he was invisible. But here's what they didn't know. Thomas had already made a decision. He decided he was worth more than that mop cart. He started reading business books during his breaks. He studied the executives, learned how they talked, how they carried themselves. He applied for an entry-level position in the company. They laughed. He applied again and again. Today, Thomas manages a team of 30 people in that same building. The only thing that changed was how Thomas saw Thomas. Your value is not determined by your current circumstances. It's not measured by your bank account, your job title, or what others think of you. Your value is inherent, non-negotiable, and waiting for you to recognize it. The moment you truly understand your worth, everything in your life begins to shift. Your relationships improve, your income increases, your confidence soars. But first, you must stop participating in the conspiracy against yourself. We live in a world suffering from a self-worth crisis. Studies show that 80% of people struggle with feelings of inadequacy. They carry voices in their heads that constantly whisper, "You're not good enough." These voices didn't appear overnight. They were programmed into us during childhood by well-meaning parents who said, "Don't get too big for your britches." Teachers who focused on our mistakes instead of our potential, and a society that profits from our insecurity. This programming creates a mental thermostat. Just like your home thermostat keeps the temperature at a set level, your mental thermostat keeps your success at whatever level you believe you deserve. If you believe you're worth $50,000 a year, you'll find ways to make sure you never earn much more. If you believe you deserve troubled relationships, you'll unconsciously sabotage the good ones. Your outer world is always a reflection of your inner world. The price of undervaluing yourself is enormous in your career. You settle for positions beneath your capabilities. You don't negotiate salaries because you don't believe you're worth more. You watch less qualified people get promoted while you stay in the shadows, thinking you should be grateful for what you have. You become invisible in your own life. In relationships, people who don't value themselves attract partners who don't value them either. They accept disrespect, broken promises, and emotional crumbs because they believe that's all they deserve. They give everything and ask for nothing, then wonder why they feel empty and resentful financially. The cost is staggering. People who don't know their worth work for less, spend more on things that don't matter, and make financial decisions based on fear instead of confidence. They live paycheck to paycheck, not because they don't make enough money, but because they don't believe they deserve financial security. The health impacts are equally devastating. Chronic self-doubt creates chronic stress. Your immune system suffers, you develop anxiety, depression, and physical ailments that have no medical explanation. Your body keeps score of every time you betray your own worth. Let me share another story. Jennifer was a brilliant lawyer who graduated top of her class. She worked 80-hour weeks, brought in millions of dollars for her firm, and was respected by colleagues. But when it came time for salary negotiations, she froze. She couldn't bring herself to ask for what she was worth because a voice in her head said she should be grateful they hired a woman at all. She watched male colleagues with half her experience earn twice her salary. The problem wasn't her skills or her value to the company. The problem was she didn't value herself. Here's what I want you to understand. Your worth is not negotiable. It doesn't fluctuate based on your performance, your mistakes, or other people's opinions. You were born with inherent value that nothing can diminish. You don't earn your worth through achievements. You don't lose it through failures. It simply is. Is this different from self-esteem, which goes up and down based on circumstances? Self-worth is deeper. It's the unshakable knowing that you matter, that you have something valuable to offer, that you deserve good things in life simply because you exist. Many people make their worth conditional. They think, I'll value myself when I lose weight, when I make more money, when I find the right relationship. This is backwards thinking. You must value yourself first, then the external changes follow. You are not a work in progress. You are not broken and need fixing. You are already complete, already valuable, already worthy of success and happiness. The people who achieve extraordinary things in life all share one common trait. They know their worth. They don't wait for permission to pursue their dreams. They don't apologize for taking up space. They don't shrink themselves to make others comfortable. They understand that valuing yourself is not arrogance, it's accuracy. When you truly grasp your inherent worth, you stop begging for opportunities and start creating them. You stop asking for approval and start giving it to yourself. You stop waiting for someone to choose you and start choosing yourself. This is where transformation begins. This is where your new life starts. And this is exactly where we're going next. Now that you understand your inherent worth, we must address the enemy that's been sabotaging you from the inside. There's a committee meeting happening in your head right now. And guess what? They're all voting against you. These voices sound familiar because they've been with you for years. One sounds like your third grade teacher who said you'd never amount to anything. Another sounds like your father who called you lazy. There's the voice of your ex-partner who said you weren't smart enough, and the boss who passed you over for promotion. This internal committee has been making decisions about your life without your permission. They decide which opportunities you're qualified for, which dreams are realistic, and how much success you deserve. They've convinced you that playing small is safer than risking failure. They've made you believe that staying comfortable is better than growing. But here's what they don't want you to know. These voices are not you. They're echoes from your past, and you have the power to fire the entire committee. Let me tell you about Michael 3 years ago. He was on the verge of shutting down his consulting business. Every time a potential client called, the voices in his head said, you're not experienced enough, they'll figure out you don't know what you're doing, you're going to embarrass yourself. He would sabotage sales calls by underpricing his services or talking himself out of the deal. One day, Michael realized he was being his own worst enemy. He started paying attention to his internal dialogue and was shocked by how cruel he was to himself. He would never talk to another person the way he talked to himself. The first step in breaking free from self-doubt is recognition. You must become aware of when you're being your own critic instead of your own coach. Healthy self-assessment says, I need to improve my presentation skills. Destructive self-criticism says, I'm terrible at presentations and always will be. One motivates growth, the other paralyzes you. Your internal dialogue creates your external reality. Every thought you think is an instruction to your unconscious mind. When you constantly tell yourself, I can't do this, your mind obediently finds evidence to support that belief. When you change your internal script to, I'm learning how to do this, your mind starts looking for solutions instead of problems. Here's a simple but powerful technique. For the next 21 days, I want you to catch yourself every time you speak negatively to yourself. The moment you hear that critical voice, stop and ask, would I say this to my best friend? If the answer is no, then don't say it to yourself. Replace it with something encouraging. Instead of, I'm so stupid, say, I'm learning something new. Instead of, I always mess up, say, I'm getting better every day. This isn't about positive thinking or pretending problems don't exist. This is about treating yourself with the same kindness you'd show someone you care about. When you change how you talk to yourself, you change how you feel about yourself. When you change how you feel about yourself, you change your actions. When you change your actions, you change your results. Lisa discovered this truth after 20 years of teaching. Despite being loved by students and respected by colleagues, she felt like a fraud. Every parent-teacher conference, every staff meeting, every evaluation filled her with anxiety. She was sure someone would expose her as incompetent. The imposter syndrome was destroying her joy in a career she loved. Then Lisa learned about self-talk. She realized she had been running a continuous loop of self-doubt in her mind. She started treating her thoughts like radio stations. When the negative station came on, she simply changed the channel. Within months, her confidence soared and her teaching became more effective than ever. But there's another trap that keeps people stuck in self-doubt, the comparison game. Social media has turned comparison into a full-time sport. You scroll through feeds seeing everyone's highlight reels while you're living in your behind-the-scenes reality. You see someone's vacation photos and forget they work 60 hours a week at a job they hate. You see someone's perfect family picture and don't know about their marriage struggles. You see someone's business success and don't know about their sleepless nights and financial stress. Comparison is the thief of joy and the enemy of self-worth. When you compare, you're beginning to someone else's middle. You'll always come up short. When you compare your struggles to someone else's victories, you'll always feel inadequate. Successful people understand this. They use others' success as inspiration, not intimidation. Robert learned this lesson the hard way. He was a talented artist who spent more time looking at other artists' work online than creating his own. Every painting he saw made him feel like his work wasn't good enough. He would start projects and abandon them because they didn't measure up to what he saw others doing. His art studio became a graveyard of unfinished canvases. Then Robert made a decision. He deleted social media apps from his phone and committed to creating for 30 days without looking at anyone else's work. Something magical happened. His unique style began to emerge. His confidence returned. His art improved dramatically because he stopped trying to be someone else and started being himself. Here's what I want you to understand. There will always be someone who seems to be doing better than you. There will always be someone who appears more successful, more talented, more confident. But you're not in competition with them. You're in competition with who you were yesterday. Your only job is to be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. The voices of self-doubt lose their power when you stop listening to them. They become background noise instead of your life's soundtrack. You realize that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action despite the fear. You understand that confidence isn't feeling sure about everything. It's being willing to figure it out as you go. The committee in your head has ruled your life long enough. It's time to fire them all and become your own biggest supporter. It's time to stop being your own worst enemy and start being your own best friend. This shift in relationship with yourself changes everything, and it sets the stage for building the unshakable self-value that will transform your life. Now that you've silenced the committee of critics in your head, it's time to build something powerful in their place. Unshakable self-value isn't built overnight, but it's built on solid foundation stones that will support you for the rest of your life. The first and most important stone is personal integrity, your ability to keep promises to yourself. Every time you say you'll wake up early and then hit the snooze button, you chip away at your self-respect. Every time you promise yourself you'll eat healthy and then order pizza. You teach yourself that your word means nothing. Every time you say you'll start that project tomorrow and then make excuses, you reinforce the belief that you can't be trusted. Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship you'll ever have. And like any relationship, it's built on trust. Here's what most people don't understand. Your confidence comes from evidence. When you consistently keep small promises to yourself, you build a track record of reliability. You prove to yourself that you're someone who follows through. You create momentum that makes bigger promises easier to keep. This is why successful people focus on small wins. They understand that confidence is built one kept promise at a time. Start with something simple. Promise yourself you'll make your bed every morning for a week. Promise yourself you'll read 10 pages of a good book each day. Promise yourself you'll take a 15-minute walk after dinner. These aren't life-changing actions by themselves, but they're character-building actions. Each time you follow through, you make a deposit in your self-respect account. The second foundation stone is competence. You must become genuinely good at something that matters to you. Confidence without competence is just arrogance. But competence without confidence is wasted potential. You need both. The good news is that competence leads to confidence naturally. When you know you can handle whatever comes your way, you walk differently, talk differently, and think differently about yourself. Choose one area of your life where you want to become excellent. Maybe it's your communication skills, your technical abilities, your leadership capacity, or your creative talents. Then commit to improving in that area every single day. Read books, take courses, find mentors, practice deliberately. The key word is deliberately. Don't just go through the motions. Focus on getting better, not just busier. This brings us to a crucial truth. You have something unique to offer the world. There has never been another person exactly like you in the history of humanity, and there never will be again. Your combination of experiences, talents, perspectives, and abilities is yours alone. The tragedy is that most people spend their lives trying to be someone else instead of becoming the best version of themselves. Let me tell you about Patricia. 3 years ago, she was a single mother working 2 jobs just to pay rent. She felt like she had nothing special to offer anyone. But Patricia had a gift she didn't recognize. She could organize anything. Her friends always came to her when they needed help decluttering their homes or planning events. She thought everyone could do what she did naturally. One day, a friend suggested she start an organizing business. Patricia laughed it off, saying who would pay for something anyone can do? But her friend was persistent. She helped Patricia see that what felt easy to her was actually a valuable skill that others would pay for today. Patricia runs a successful organizing business with a 6-month waiting list. She makes more money working for herself than she ever made working for others. The only thing that changed was her recognition of her own value. She stopped discounting her abilities and started appreciating them. Practice is premium. Folks don't realize properly themselves just how appreciative they are. Your unique value lies at the intersection of 3 things: what you're naturally good at, what you genuinely enjoy, and what the world needs. Most people focus only on what they think they should be good at based on other people's expectations. They ignore their natural talents because they seem too easy or too obvious. But your greatest strengths often feel effortless to you, precisely because they are your strengths. This is where the success mindset becomes crucial. People who achieve extraordinary things think differently about themselves and their possibilities. They don't focus on why something won't work. They focus on how to make it work. They don't ask, what if I fail? They ask, what if I succeed? They don't wonder if they deserve good things. They assume they do and act accordingly. The scarcity mindset says there's not enough success, money, or opportunity to go around. It sees life as a zero-sum game where someone else's win means your loss. The abundance mindset understands that success breeds success, that there's plenty of opportunity for everyone, and that other people's achievements prove what's possible, not what's impossible. When you truly value yourself, you take ownership of your achievements instead of minimizing them. You stop saying, "I just got lucky," or "anyone could have done it." You recognize that luck is where preparation meets opportunity, and you were prepared. You acknowledge that while others might have been able to do it, they didn't. James learned this lesson when he transitioned from being a shy accountant to a confident business consultant. For years, he downplayed his analytical abilities and problem-solving skills. When colleagues praised his work, he would deflect with, "It was nothing." When he solved complex problems, he would say, "It was obvious." This false modesty was actually self-sabotage. It prevented him from being promoted and kept his salary lower than it should have been. Everything changed when James created his personal value statement. He wrote down exactly what he brought to every situation: keen analytical mind, attention to detail, ability to see patterns others missed, calm under pressure, and talent for explaining complex concepts simply. He memorized this statement and referred to it before every important meeting or conversation. Armed with clear knowledge of his value, James started speaking up in meetings. He began positioning himself as the go-to person for difficult analysis projects. He negotiated his salary with confidence because he knew exactly what he was worth. Within 18 months, he had doubled his income and started his own consulting practice. Your value statement is your personal declaration of independence from other people's opinions. It's your reminder of what you bring to the table when self-doubt tries to make you forget. When you know your worth, you communicate it naturally through your presence, your decisions, and your actions. Knowing your value is powerful, but living from that value is transformational. When you truly understand your worth, everything about how you show up in the world changes. You walk taller. You speak with conviction. You make decisions from strength instead of fear. You stop asking for permission to be great and start giving yourself permission to succeed. The first way this shows up is in your boundaries. People who don't value themselves have weak boundaries or no boundaries at all. They say yes when they mean no. They tolerate disrespect. They give their time and energy to anyone who asks, then wonder why they feel drained and resentful. But when you know your worth, you protect it fiercely. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're gates that let the right people in while keeping the wrong influences at bay. Setting boundaries isn't mean or selfish. It's necessary for your mental health, your relationships, and your success. When you don't set boundaries, you teach people that your time doesn't matter, your feelings don't count, and your needs aren't important. Let me tell you about Karen. She was a nurse who prided herself on being helpful. She worked double shifts when colleagues called in sick. She covered for people who took advantage of her kindness. She brought work problems home and stayed late to finish other people's tasks. Karen thought she was being noble, but she was actually being self-destructive. She was exhausted, stressed, and beginning to resent the job she once loved. Everything changed when Karen learned to protect her energy. She realized that saying no to some things meant saying yes to more important things. She stopped covering every shift and started using her time off to rest and recharge. She set clear limits on what she would and wouldn't do beyond her job description. The amazing thing was, she didn't become less effective. She became more effective. When Karen had more energy, she could give her patients better care. When she wasn't overwhelmed, she made better decisions. Her boundaries didn't make her selfish, they made her stronger. This leads to the second way high-value people live differently. They invest in themselves without guilt. Many people feel selfish when they spend money on education, health, or personal development. They'll spend thousands on their children's activities but hesitate to buy a book that could change their career. They'll pay for everyone else's needs but feel guilty about investing in their own growth. Here's what you must understand. Investing in yourself is not selfish. It's strategic. When you become better, everyone around you benefits. When you develop new skills, you can contribute more to your workplace. When you take care of your health, you have more energy for your family. When you work on your mindset, you become a more positive influence on others. The areas where investment pays the highest dividends are education, health, and relationships. Continuous learning keeps your mind sharp and your skills current. Physical fitness gives you the energy to pursue your goals. Strong relationships provide support, opportunities, and joy. These aren't expenses. They're investments that compound over time. But here's where most people get this wrong. They wait until they have extra time or extra money to invest in themselves. They say, I'll take that course when things slow down, or I'll start eating better when I'm less stressed. This is backwards thinking. You invest in yourself first, then everything else becomes easier. You find time for what you prioritize, and you find money for what you value. The third way high-value people live differently is in their daily presence. They carry themselves with quiet confidence. They speak with authority about subjects they know. They listen more than they talk, but when they speak, people pay attention. They don't need to prove themselves constantly because they know who they are. This presence comes from alignment. Your thoughts, words, and actions are consistent. You don't say one thing and do another. You don't pretend to be someone you're not. You don't apologize for taking up space or having opinions. You show up authentically, and that authenticity is magnetic. When you make decisions from a place of self-respect, those decisions are usually the right ones. You choose quality over quantity. You choose growth over comfort. You choose long-term success over short-term gratification. You don't settle for less than you deserve because you know what you deserve. The ripple effect of this transformation touches everyone around you. When you value yourself, you give others permission to value themselves too. When you set boundaries, you show others how to protect their own energy. When you pursue your dreams with confidence, you inspire others to pursue theirs. Your self-worth becomes a gift to the world. But here's the truth that ties everything together. Valuing yourself is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Some days you'll feel on top of the world. Other days you'll struggle with doubt. Some days your boundaries will be strong. Other days you'll slip back into people-pleasing. This is normal. The key is to notice when you're off track and gently guide yourself back. Every morning, you get to choose who you're going to be that day. You can choose to be the person who apologizes for existing or the person who celebrates being alive. You can choose to be the person who accepts whatever life hands them or the person who actively creates the life they want. You can choose to be the person who waits for permission or the person who grants themselves permission. The world doesn't need another person playing small. The world doesn't need another person hiding their gifts. The world doesn't need another person accepting mediocrity. The world needs you, the real you, showing up fully, contributing your unique talents, and living as the powerful, valuable, worthy person you were born to be. Stop waiting for someone else to see your value. Stop waiting for perfect conditions to start living boldly. Stop waiting for permission to be great. The person you've been waiting to become is already inside you. All you have to do is recognize them, honor them, and let them shine. That person has been patient long enough. Today is their day. Today is your day.